Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. I truly believe that sometimes a single insight can completely change your business directions and allow you to achieve your business goals. In this episode, I interview Paul Abdool. Paul is Chief Revenue Officer at WayPath Consulting, and he's author of a new book, Forget It, Feel It. Throughout this pandemic, customer service teams or customer service departments have been at the forefront of most of the issues and challenges and changes. Customer experience and customer journey has been so important to buyers during this pandemic. Paul shared insights on what has changed during this pandemic when it comes to customer service and customer communication. Many companies have actually embarked on these opportunities, and they have invested heavily on a customer service technologies, systems, and people training, and they have actually improved their customer service prior to COVID-19. I think you will really enjoy my discussion with Paul when he talks about, if you're going to embark on a customer service improvement and a step-by-step approach, how to shorten your cycle and how can you get there much faster. If you like this content, don't forget to send us your feedback, and also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for future videos. Until next time, enjoy. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Paul Abdool. Paul has one of those unique roles that I'm always looking forward to talking to, a Chief Revenue Officer for WayPath Consulting. And Paul is an author, he's a speaker, he's a thought leader, and he's a volleyball player as well. So thank you so much for your time, Paul. I'm looking forward to learning from you today.
Well, thanks for having me today, Gurmeet.
So, if you give us a little bit, a short version of what WayPath Consulting is about, and what your role in that company, Paul.
Sure. So WayPath Consulting is a boutique consulting company out of Richmond, Virginia in the US. And what we've really focused on is customer experience support platform implementation. So that's a mouthful, but essentially a lot of things that you need to do to communicate with your customers, for them to communicate with you, to track those communications. We have software, we implement software from our partners to actually help you do that. So we have three main practice areas. So one focuses on customer communication management, which is around really the development of documents or outbound regulatory communications. It could be physically manifested in a printed and mailed document, or it could be digitally sent to that person or the recipient, whether it's business to business or business to consumer. And then we also have two other practice areas. One that focuses on CRM. So we help to implement CRM systems. We focus on Microsoft Dynamics. And so we're a unique player there. I know Salesforce is quite prevalent. We have partners that work with some other ones as well, such as Pega and Salesforce, as necessary, because we find that they integrate with our third practice area, which is the content management system side, which really focuses on, I guess the simple way to say it, websites. So we implement industrial strength websites, 200, 300, 400, 800 page websites, and we support large organizations to keep those up and running so that they can communicate with their customers.
So a lot of consulting work, a lot of customization, a lot of integration. Is that it looks like the field where you guys play, I guess, right?
Yeah. And one thing I didn't call out as really as a SKU or something that we put on our books too often is the strategy and consulting side. A lot of times that's part and parcel of what we do as the first step in implementing any of those software packages.
So, when people come to you, you guys, or WayPath Consulting, Paul, do they know what problem they're trying to solve, or you got to dig it out, you got to figure out what problem you got to help them in a strategy, and then find out what the problem they're trying to solve, and then focus on a software, I guess, right? So do they know what problem they're after, or you have to discover the problem with them?
Oh, wow. A great question. It's both. Sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and you have to guide them. That's really the origins of our name. We'll take you down the path.
Yeah.
And so that's one area that we try to help people really express what they're trying to accomplish. So it's a very common thing in the agile methodology as far as implementing software is really to understand what your outcome is in plain language, and then translating that into something that a developer can code for you.
I
So
see.
that's one way. Sometimes people know exactly what they want, and maybe they're switching partners, or they want an improvement or some change.
I see. So any software we talk about any changes you make, and these are big changes in a company. You are almost changing the way they run a business today. Whatever they're doing today is going to change the way they run it later on. What are some of the obstacles? Is change management is one of the obstacles? What are some of those obstacles you guys experience when you trying to implement these changes in a company?
Yeah, it is a big piece. And now, well, it can be transformational at an organization, but it can also come in bite-sized pieces. And I think that's part of change management as well. Our engagement managers, we use that term on purpose
Yeah.
because from an agile perspective, it might be a scrum master who's leading a project. From a waterfall perspective, it might be a project manager. But we know that there's kind of a combination out there that we're seeing in the marketplace where people have this master waterfall type plan, but they really don't know how to get all the way there. So it's kind of agile in the middle. And so that's, we joke and call it waterfall, agafall, different things like that. But change management's a big part of that, and things that the engagement managers are very familiar with.
I see. Yeah, I know it definitely. We are in IT industry as well. The change is always the biggest piece, right? So that's where we always find that business leaders, most of business leaders you're talking to, they're not technology savvy, or they're not pioneer for that, right? They need somebody else to do it, right? When it comes on somebody else, definitely change management is becomes a big part. And now leaders have to drive it, but they're not expert on a subject matter expert on that software they're
Yes.
deploying, right?
That's right. And sometimes they are, as you mentioned, they may know how to run a business, they may know how to grow a business, but they don't know all those things that are moving. So if they're far up in a boardroom and it's affecting customers that are coming into a website, clicking on a button and getting frustrated and leaving and abandoning that purchase, or saying, oh, that doesn't work. What else doesn't work at that organization? So it's a bad customer experience overall. So that's why we say that we support customer experience and we affect it, but it's not software that really runs customer experience. So when I talk to some of the customer experience um, die in the wool people, they talk about things like net promoter scores, things like that. Our software or the software we implement affects your net promoter score, but we're not measuring it. And so it's things like that where we may run a focus group to see how customers are using something, or what's bothering them, or where they're getting stuck, and that's where we help out.
So end of the day, so people to provide that experience, right? Software is one tool that makes it
Yes,
easy for you, but end of the day, your people got to provide that experience. It's a humans end of the day. They're using the software that makes that customer experience much better, right?
exactly. And just making it easier.
Yeah.
I think we're getting so used to just clicking on a few buttons on our phone, and you're getting what you need. And there's a lot of things out there in business that are a lot more complicated than that. But that has set the bar to make things simple.
Yeah. So training gotta be a big part of what you guys do, Paul, because now yeah, we can integrate any software, we can deploy any software, but if you don't, your people not using it as they should be using it, then you're not gonna get the best out of it. So training gotta be a big part of what you guys do, right?
Oh, for sure. And with training, people underestimate what that takes. So it's one thing to teach somebody how to do something, but people learn differently. So you can write everything down. So that's a big part, documenting the actual processes that you go through and how you can get from, A to Z on execution. But now you have to teach someone to do that, sometimes show them. put together really clear documentation around that as well. And then it's like anything, if you don't use it, you lose it. So making sure that they are current on their training. And then there's some organizations that say, you know what, I want 1 or 2 people to do that, but I don't want to hire 10 people to do that. So can you stick around, whether it's on a retainer, and support those people when they need it? And they'll do as much as they can in a self-serve way.
And as you know, the software changes over the time, new versions comes out, and same as a business changes all the time, right? And the training gotta be updated all the time. It has to be the dynamic that capture the new changes in the software, also the business market, right? So that has to be changing all the time, right? You need a training is part of that whole engagement, as long as the people use the software, I guess, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you have to keep the documentation up to date, training up to date, even ourselves, our own people. As software goes to the next version and upgrades take place, our partners expect us to have our skills sharpened. In fact, I just sent out a congratulations to one of our senior developers for going through his certification the other day of one of our customers' most recent releases. Because if we're not up to date, then how can we teach somebody else to do it?
Yeah, and that's where the hard work comes in, right? Not only you gotta train somebody else, but you gotta be master of that stuff before you go out, right? That's where a lot of hard work is. You gotta make sure everybody's in a team is up to speed with that stuff.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. It's hard. We're in the business, so it's in our best interest to stay current and to be ready and being able to provide those services. Our customers are somewhat in the business. Their department might be focused on billing or customer acquisition or customer service, but the tools that they use, they're not necessarily studying all the time.
Yeah.
So they need some support there to ensure that they're up to speed on what's the latest and greatest, and what software is going to be sunset and go out of support. Or a big one, for example, is upgrading to the cloud. Everyone's trying to get there and get off of the on-premise software, and that's a big change too.
Yeah. Wow. And as a customer is going through that, there's a lot of for customers, your software is just a tool, one of the tools they have, right? So they just want to get some work done by using the software you deploy. For them is a tool for them to move their business forward. They could be in a mining business, they could be in a car business, they could be any business. That's their business. They want to move the business forward, but they need a tools and technology, and definitely they need to be using the tool, but they're not going to be master of the tools. I think that as you guys are on your software, I guess, right?
And you're right. And regardless of what the business is, there's going to be financial transactions. There's going to be things that you need to record in some shape or form. Everybody is starting to buy before they even talk to you when they hit your website. So if you don't have some of these basics set up, I think they're foundational to your business today, and that's why I'm excited about the things that we do. It allows you to showcase what you're going to sell or what your service is, be it on your website. It allows you to interact with your customers, constituents, whoever they are, within a common platform, a CRM. And then it also allows you to complete those transactions with electronic confirmations or physical bills or invoices or regulatory communications, such as the insurance industry or financial. So all of those things are happening regardless of your business.
Yeah.
And it crosses over a lot. Now, domain expertise in the particular business, for example, like insurance, we do a lot of work there, or in state government, really helps to make things easy for our customers as well, because we already know what the government's expecting or what the other software that you might use at your company. So the integrations are key.
Yeah, the business logic, you guys, master that. If I'm running a business, I don't have the business logic, right? I'm running on operational level on a daily basis, but you guys do a lot of research around the market and the business logic you guys are going to pump in or understand the way you understand and put that into software. That's, I'm not going to be able to replace that as running a company, because that's not my focus. My focus is to run a business on a daily basis, right? That's how CRMs, all these systems get so smart over the years, because the business logics keep getting upgraded and upgraded over the time, because everybody's putting time and energy into it.
Yeah. And you said something very interesting that reminded me of something, is that if you're in the insurance business, for example, you're not going to implement a CRM system twice a year. You're going to do it once every 5 years, 10 years, who knows?
Maybe more. Yeah.
It could be longer, it could be, right?
Yeah.
We do it multiple times a year for multiple organizations. So we're going to get good at it. You're going to forget what you did 10 years ago. The guy, there's always a guy, right?
Yeah.
It could be a girl who's back there in IT that was around on the last time you did it. And that person becomes very valuable because they remember where everything is and all the buttons and all the customizations.
Yeah.
So what we bring to the party is, because we do it every day, we ask all those questions that person should know, or a business leader, or let's say, for example, somebody who's involved with the software purchase but isn't as close to the day-to-day grind of using it, may not know what to ask.
Yeah. You won't remember. I mean, that's not the focus for these people, right? So,
That's right.
if when you didn't have, 2 months ago, I forget about all the stuff I need to know. That's where you look for expertise. So where do you see some of the common mistakes in this area, Paul? From your experience, you guys been doing it for a long time. Where do you see some of the common mistakes that people make when they are taking on a project like yours?
Oh, I think one of the biggest problems is people try to be perfect. They take so much time to research and get all of their requirements so perfect that it takes forever to get the project started. And I think in today's world, where speed to market's critical, or you need to make some changes before you increase costs because something is being sunset or whatever it might be. Let's say you need that software for growth. I think you need to have a basic understanding of where you need to go. So accelerating your starting point is important. So that's a big mistake I see. And then with Agile and that as a methodology, you can certainly iterate and keep going. We probably try to get you, 75% there out of the gate so that you can expedite that part. I think that's a big part that's a challenge for people.
That not understanding requirements is one of the challenge, would you say? People not understanding what they really want out of software. They're simply saying, okay, I need a CRM, right? They haven't done a homework. Hey, this is my business is about. This is what I need to get out of it. This is how I need to employ it, and not doing all the homework before they reach out to.
Well, in a way, I guess where I'm saying is that they need to understand what they want to accomplish from the business side, and then we'll ask a bunch of questions to help you document those requirements faster. And you don't have to worry about it. I think what ends up happening is people might artificially create a budget.
Okay.
And they haven't decided, they say, okay, I want to spend whatever, $200,000 to implement this thing. And they don't realize that it may cost less or more over time to actually execute that. What we need to do is get enough information so that we can size that for you properly so that you can be realistic. Because that's the other thing where people get in trouble is all of a sudden their project goes over budget and they thought they had everything perfect, which is why it takes so long to plan in the first place, because they're trying to get it perfect so their budget's right, which we appreciate. But I think if you can do that in a shorter period of time, it will help you get the return faster too.
Understand. Interesting. So how about during the COVID time, the pandemic where we just going through it, What kind of challenges you saw that people, was it, and I know the training one-to-one is not there anymore. So what do you saw that changes in your market, Paul, and how do people overcome those challenges?
Yeah, it's a great question. During COVID, uh, life's been pretty good for WayPath Consulting. We've done better. We've grown. I think part of the reason is that there has been more demand for online communications, for putting your better foot forward with respect to your website, uh, clear communications, and as well, what it's done is there's been a lot of change in personnel, right? There's been that exodus from the workplace where people are looking for things, just a different job. So there's a lot of people in motion. So we bring stability where you're losing some valuable resources to another organization where we can fill some gaps without you having to hire somebody full time.
Wow, very interesting. Yeah, definitely. People struggling with the health, or they're just struggling with the family issues. There's a lot of movements. You're right. I see the same thing. A lot of people changing, right? So, that's where the systems becomes a lot more critical. That systems do bring that onboarding a little bit easier for the new staff as well. Or any changes we can capture that. So a lot of knowledge that was going to leave with the staff, now systems capture that knowledge, and then you make it the next person coming on board their life much easier because you have a systems in place.
That's right. And the organization may take the opportunity, well, they had to, in some industries, had to make some cuts uh, to ensure that they could be profitable. So now what? The work still has to be done. So instead of hiring a full-time person, you can avoid that hiring and just rent, if you will, or a service from us. And then from that standpoint, once it's up and running and your people are trained, we can go away and that cost goes away.
See,
So it's not a full-time employee commitment. It's a come on in, fix something in 6 months and go away. In some cases, some organizations want to keep us around longer, but typically we're seeing kind of um, a on the high end side, 2 to 4 year contracts.
yeah. So yeah, when you're scaling down for short term, you can use your help, and then when it's time to scale up again, you can adjust that, right? So I think that's a
Exactly.
great help for any business leaders who's trying to figure out the strategy how they're gonna go about a business when they're struggling, or they want to scale down for short term so they can reposition again. You guys are there to help them out.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, exactly.
so let's talk about technology. CRMs or software that you guys deploy. There's always, getting smarter by the day. They're getting a more intelligence. As the time goes by, I see a lot of AI stuff coming into the softwares, making it more smarter. Where you see the new trends coming into technology, or in a CRMs, what kind of positive changes that the behind the scene the technologies as or companies are making that putting a more kind of intelligence into these softwares, Paul.
Yeah, wow. That's a big topic. The artificial intelligence piece is it's interesting because essentially we're trying to automate what humans keep doing and keep thinking about.
Repetitive stuff.
That's right, the patterns and all of those and the integration. So if you think about ourselves, as you learn something new, it makes you smarter for the thing that you're already doing. And what we're seeing, I guess, is a lot of integration between systems for efficiency. So
I
if you're
see.
not integrating, you might as well forget about being in business today. If you're the days of having proprietary software that doesn't talk to something else is going away. Because what you're doing is you're moving data from one place to another to make the other more intelligent and valuable. So, for example, let's say somebody comes into your website and they are entering in information or they're searching for a particular product or doing research. Having that information feed into a CRM system to create a next logical action for a customer service representative or a salesperson, that is the type of thing that is becoming automated. Would I put it under the category of artificial intelligence? Maybe. It's really looking for signals in that buying cycle. We're seeing in a lot of things in different organizations, for example, that are having that are listening, if you will. So if you start to click on a couple of things or you do a search, you may notice even on your Facebook or something that you all of a sudden get an ad. How do they know that I'm interested in that? So there's stuff that's listening and looking for that. And so organizations are investing in that type of technology. It's a little out there with respect to the things that we're doing, but I think what we're doing is we're the input of the data for those tools that are providing some of those intelligence back.
Yeah, no, I mean that adds a huge value for businesses. It automates a lot of the manual stuff. It automate business process. If you look at a business process and which process do I automate, that's where this technology comes in. One of the CRM we use, and I was blown away just looking at the CRM that you can input data into it, and they have a process behind the scene. At the end of the day, they will go in and they will clean up the data for you. If you put a company ABC, you don't have a lot of details on it. All you need is to put a domain in, and they will go behind the scene. They will update how many employees they have. All the public information, right? All the intelligent information that you need, your sales team need to make a decisions and reach out to them. And who's a CFO for the business, who's a CEO, who's the president. So a lot of that cleaned up information. That avoids, if I need to hire somebody, old days, we used to hire somebody to clean up the list, or we need to, update the list. Now, look, these companies are taking that away from you and automating for you. So you enter the company, they will clean up all the information for you. I mean, that's a huge help if you're trying to grow the business.
Yeah, it makes the value of that person's activities now go to a higher value. They're not worried about all the data, salespeople hate that. I have a sales team that, the less I can get them to do, and the more it's in drop-down menus or pre-populated fields or some sort of calculation based on where they are in a sales stage, all of those types of things just make life easy.
Yeah. So let's talk about your role, Paul. Very interesting. Your role, Chief Revenue Officer. I don't see a lot of companies have that. I wish every company had that. Somebody focus on that. How does that fit in a company, and how do you help your peers? And if you can talk about that role a little bit.
Yeah. It's been an evolutionary role. Typically they was born out of a vice president of sales. What ended up happening is that a VP of sales was concerned about the top line revenue and not necessarily the bottom line.
Okay.
They also, depending on what you're selling, and it really kind of came out of the SaaS space, where as you kept that customer for a longer time, so the lifetime value of the customer was important. So not just selling the first deal and running away, making sure that the delivery team, your customer success team, maintain that customer for as long as you can, so they kept renewing the software, or they kept using it or expanding it, more licenses, etc., seats, however you sold it. And so what ended up happening is you started to see customer success teams, marketing, sales falling under this chief revenue officer position. And that's what we've seen as an evolution. I think as those areas grow large enough, we see a breaking out of that. So you're going to have a CMO, a chief revenue officer, being peers working together. You may even have somebody, a VP of client success, customer success, break out from there as well, and they might work under a different department. But essentially, in a smaller organization, a chief revenue officer may be overseeing all of those aspects.
I see. So it's customer retention is, I think, one of the objective, out of the other ones. So, but I think it's very, very interesting to have that role, in a company. I would recommend any company, just trying to focus on that, because I see a lot of, controllers in a company. I see CFO's company. I hardly see, chief revenue officer. I think that's a glue. You need to have somebody there, not only looking for the, growth for the short term, but also the customer retention for the long term, and also customer satisfaction, and so they can build that relationship with a company, right?
Oh, absolutely. And all of those players are critical. I think the the CRO, what you see, especially another evolving role is sales enablement. So I have a sales enablement person who helps to educate and train our salespeople. They
Mm-hmm.
work with marketing and they're cross-functional, looking at finance and delivery under those systems to make sure that you just don't throw a deal over the fence once you sign something,
Mm-hmm.
because that story, all the conversations that took place are lost.
Yeah.
So being able to do that and caring,
Mm-hmm.
right? I say caring in a serious way, because a lot of salespeople get a bad rap for just, oh, I sold it, I'm gone, I'm on to my next deal. But caring about what happens long term is important, and having a distinction between roles. So, for example, the people that do go out and find new business, new logos, they may be in our model, for example, with that customer for a year, making
Mm-hmm.
sure there's a good, smooth transition over to client success, and then handing to an account manager that's going to pursue further business or cross sell a solution.
Mm-hmm. Because the value from, if I'm a customer and I'm buying a software or buying any new project, the value, I'm not gonna see the value right away. I'm gonna see probably a value over a year when we fully train and we start using it and we start seeing the value, the output comes out of it, right? So it takes time. I think you're right about that. Yeah, if it's a year engagement or 2 years, that's when you see the real value start coming out of any system we deploy after a couple of years, right? So yeah, I think that having that relationship is very important, because when you're seeing a real value, it's very important to have those conversation at that point. So then you can build those relationships, right?
Hmm. And we can provide stability, right? As people come and go in an organization, some knowledge goes with them sometimes, and being able to say, oh, if you speak to these guys at WayPath, they've been doing this thing for us, and it's easy for you to onboard your new person by sharing what we've done, and maybe that new person can bring some new ideas too. That we've seen that as well, and how they've used either, for example, the CRM at another organization, or how they're trying to manage digital assets. And when I say that, everything from a logo on a website to an image, how they played with data, and they may say that, you know what, it could be organized differently so that more people can use it. So there's so many different aspects of it for sure.
I see. You guys primarily focus on a Microsoft Dynamics, right, Paul?
Correct.
That's your. So where do you think this software is going? I know Microsoft's, so much technologies out there. Integration with the Teams is another one. SharePoint's another one, and they're going with all that, application, all the softwares. Where you see the opportunity lies in a Dynamics for consultants or for Microsoft itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dynamics 365 and the Power Apps are the newest, latest, and greatest thing. It's really about integration. Of course, Microsoft has become a massive organization, and this is an area that, um, if you looked back a few years ago, the CRM piece wasn't as important to them. When I say not as important, it probably was important to somebody, but the growth and the adoption has risen more, and we are seeing it because people have Microsoft environments today, and it's easier to expand that way than to implement another one or to integrate different systems. So that's kind of what we're seeing, but we're also seeing some interesting services come out of it. So, for example, we do something with the Department of Transportation in Virginia where, let's say there's a pothole on the road and you want it repaired. So you call the Department of Transportation and they say, oh, okay, great, there's a pothole. And they say, where is it? And now they can go to a map, or other software that looks at that, actually looks at the hole through camera systems to find it, and then deploys a crew and puts it into their next logical repair schedule. So those are some things that are neat. We're also seeing folks integrated with financial applications, right? Like Great Plains, being part of that whole suite. And we're also seeing, for example, you take an order, let's say this other organization we're working with that helps people to move. Now you're taking an order, you're sizing it, your salesperson's out there capturing information. Now you're deploying the closest staff from where they live and where the trucks are to that person's house to help them.
Wow.
And then that information, once things have gone through, maybe something gets damaged during the move. And then they don't want to pay you because something got damaged. Rightfully so, they're upset. But you know what? That was affecting their accounts receivables. So now if you could say, hey, we understand that this part was damaged and it's part of the invoicing or a deduction or a discount, and you can clean that up right at the beginning during the activity, and it's all connected in the system, you're not even going to get the complaint. Customer service or collections and finance doesn't have to waste time trying to collect a bill. You already know why, and you can already get that bill right before you even send it.
Yeah, that's a lot of integration you just talk about. GPS location. It looks like so much intelligence can be put in with the integration with the different systems, right? I think that's the beauty of it. These systems are you can integrate with any system you want, even though the strength is not in a CRM. You could find another partner and integrate with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. So I want to talk about your book as well, Paul. Let's talk about your book. So what inspired you to write this book? I think the book's name is Fix It, Flex It. I forgot it.
It's called Forget It, Felix.
Forget It, Flex. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that name came about, and how did you come up with the idea of writing a book?
So it was inspired by my son, who always forgot everything, and I coach volleyball and a bunch of teenage boys, and they would forget water bottles here and there, or a shirt after practice, or they didn't remember their shoes or their uniform, whatever it is. Every time they forgot something, I wrote it down. And then eventually I said, I'm going to write this in a book. My son wouldn't let me name it after him, so his name's not Felix.
Okay.
So I just thought, Felix was a male name starting with F, so I went with it, and it went with Forget. So that's really what it was, and it's a lesson in itself to help kids to remember. And at the end of it, there's a checklist that helps you to learn how to develop some habits and different things. And ironically, some of the people that have read it said it's good for adults too, to remind us a few things. And also, ironically, I noticed that some teachers were picking it up for different reasons. And so a friend of mine who's a teacher, she actually created a lesson plan that goes with it that teachers can download for free from Teachers Pay Teachers, and it helps to take kids through a lesson plan following the book. So that was really nice of her to do that for me. And then what we saw is that some of the teachers were using it for folks with learning disabilities or autistic children, people who had some challenges learning some things. So it's been interesting for me. It's not a bestseller yet, but I heard it takes a lot of time. But I've read to a couple of young elementary school classes, and it's been fun.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. Raising kids always, especially if you in a sports involved, raising sons, I remember my son is forgetting everything. He used to play football. Sometimes he forgets a helmet at home. Sometimes he forgets the shoes at home. I gotta take him there, come back home, pick up his stuff, and take him there. So how many trips I made? So I can relate to that. Kids forgetting all the time. So if there's a help out there, there's some sort of exercise they can follow. I think it definitely it'd be helpful, especially when they're going through so much extra activities and always forgetting something at home.
Yeah. I think it's something we can all relate to. So when parents are reading it to their kids, I think they're smiling at the same time, saying, "Yeah, I could use that too."
Interesting. So yeah, no, definitely. I want to be respectful of the time. Then if somebody's looking, a lot of business leaders, as you know, at this time in January, we plan what we're gonna do next year. If somebody building, a strategy and a CRM or any system, is in their strategy, I would recommend that they reach out to you guys and have a discussion. Who knows where the discussion go, but at least you guys can provide some insights, what they should be looking into and what kind of information they should be gathering. And especially as you mentioned, if you can do, if you can document their requirements, that's a huge help. A lot of business leaders I know, when they go after shop, look for what CRM, what system they want to deploy. One of the issue is always, hey, listen, how do I document my requirements? And if you guys helping them to document the requirements, I think that's a big help for any business leader.
Oh, for sure. I think, yeah, just, I started off by saying sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And that is probably the most common starting point, is that there's people have a good vision of the end game, but how to get there, they're not sure. And so if you can have a guide to help you get there a little faster, it'll certainly help your business.
Yeah, something you're not good at, find a partner. They will take you there.
That's right. That's hey, we don't always know all the answers, and we work with partners too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is the way these days. We talk about software integration. This is the business integration. Hey, something you don't know, find a partner. They will take you there much faster. You can go there while you're by yourself, but the time you're gonna take, the mistakes you're gonna make, all the time wasted and mistakes, the lessons learned. Do you really want to go through it, or you want to get somebody to get you there much faster?
Exactly.
That's the decision you gotta make. Very interesting. I will definitely recommend anybody who's listening. Listen. If the CRM, any software integration is a part of your strategy for 2022, reach out to you guys. Have a kind of conversation and get some help. Definitely, you can shorten their cycle or the time period to get to the software wherever you need to get to. Right.
You got it.
Good stuff. Hey, I want to thank you for your time. It was a great discussion. I appreciate your time with us, and all the best for 2022. We'll talk down the road.
You got it. Thanks for your time too.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Okay. Bye-bye. Hi there. Thank you so much for investing time with us and watching this video. Hope you enjoyed this discussion. For next episode, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and send your feedback. Until next time, have yourself a great day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.